Happy Fitness Friday, everybody!
Happy Fitness Friday! Welcome! Today is all about Myzone frequently asked questions. We are excited to share them with you.
Yes, and we are excited to hear them from you.
Yes.
So you got to bring on any questions that you have that are Myzone related. Emily and I, of course, would be able to best answer training or heart rate science related questions.
Yeah.
And we'll direct you to Myzone support for the rest at support@myzone.org. Yes.
Yes.
We are your Myzone Master Trainers. I am Dr. Ayla Donlin.
And I'm Emily Sopo.
We're both certified personal trainers, group fitness instructors. We have background in kinesiology, and we're really excited to bring you content every Friday on Fitness Friday.
Yes, we are. Hey, Marcin, thanks for joining us. Hey, Melissa.
Good morning, Melissa.
So today's format is going to be a little bit different. We do have some questions, some FAQs that we've compiled, but we also want you guys to be asking any Myzone related questions that you may have.
Yes.
And so we'll answer the ones that we have prepared, but we want to know, what do you want to know? So please, in the comment section below, write your questions in, and we'll be sure to answer as many as we possibly can.
Yes, and anything that we don't get to answer on the live feed, we will definitely go back and address at a later point in time. So please keep firing away with questions.
Yes.
Hi, Coach B.
Yes. And hi, Coach B. And as a reminder, folks, a lot of these questions we've actually covered in previous Fitness Friday broadcasts, and we'd love for you to check them out on the Myzone Moves YouTube channel. So you can get all of our previous broadcasts on the Myzone Moves YouTube channel. You can also check out myzone.org and Myzone on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all over the place to learn more about Myzone.
Absolutely. And did you already tell them where to go to find the blogs about the information?
No.
Okay. So in addition to watching the videos, the previous Fitness Friday videos, like Emily was saying, on the Myzone Moves YouTube channel, you can get a lot of the same content via our blog, which is on myzone.org. Scroll down to the bottom and it's the Master Trainer blog, and that can be a great resource for you as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that there is age related to Myzone belt. If so, haha, thank you so much for that question. That's an awesome one. Yes, age is related to your Myzone belt because Myzone uses an age predicted estimated maximal heart rate, and so your age does play a role in the maximal heart rate that Myzone will automatically set for you when you first start using your Myzone belt.
Yes, and so in terms of what heart rate needs to be adjusted, for most individuals, the estimated equation is going to work really well to give you an estimated maximal heart rate. But if you feel like that might not be quite reflective of your maximal heart rate, then you can always adjust it in the system, or if you're working with a personal trainer, that would be my recommendation, to have them help you figure out what might be a more accurate estimated maximal heart rate.
Yeah, and just to clarify for those of you out there who think that you may need to adjust your maximal heart rate, your estimated maximal heart rate in the Myzone system, we don't have access, meaning Myzone users don't have access to adjusting their maximal heart rate. So we recommend that you either contact Myzone support or that you contact whoever is the Myzone champion at your club if you're part of a fitness facility that uses Myzone.
Right, and Myzone support again is support@myzone.org.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to start with one of our most popular, we're going to answer this question real quick from Coach B though. Will it automatically adjust down like it does adjust up? So I think what Coach B is referring to is when you reach a new maximal heart rate in the Myzone system. So if you hit a heart rate that's above your estimated maximal heart rate and hold it for 10 seconds or longer, your estimated maximal heart rate will automatically adjust in the system. That does not happen on the other side. So it will not adjust down. So that would need to be manually adjusted in the system.
Yes, and we'll explain a little bit more about that in one of the questions that we have prepared. There is a video that we did a little while back. I think it was like the one thing you need to know about maximal heart rate, and we covered that in great detail, so you can go to the YouTube channel for that one.
Yes, as I was saying, we're gonna get in right at the beginning here. One of our most commonly asked questions, of course, it's about the red zone, right? And one of the most commonly asked questions about the red zone is, how long should one be in the red zone? Of course, the short answer is it depends. It's going to depend on so many factors. Largely, what are your training goals for that session, and what are your overall training goals? Because we like to offer what is called periodization. where we have bouts of higher intensity, yellow and red zones, and where we have bouts of lower or moderate intensity, blue and green zones. So in terms of in an acute workout, so in one workout session, how long should you be in the red zone? Generally, it's going to be for shorter durations because it's such a high intensity. It's 90% and above of your maximal heart rate. I don't think that anyone can give a set prescription for, in general terms, how long one should be in the red zone. That's going to be a very individualized number. If you are hitting and staying in the red zone for extended periods of time and your rate of perceived exertion only reflects a 7 or an 8 on the scale of 10, then that means you probably need to adjust your estimated maximal heart rate. But really, in terms of knowing exactly how long one should be in the red zone, it's really going to depend on your training goals and your fitness level.
Yeah. We have a type of training. Hey, Marcin. I'm trying to read that. Yeah, Marcin, you bring up a good point, which is lactate production. And that does tie into kind of what I'm going to mention right now, which is sometimes we have very fit individuals who do threshold training.
Right.
And threshold training is where you're maintaining a high intensity for 10 minutes or longer. Am I getting the definition correct there? Perfect. So an individual who has increased their lactate threshold up into the red zone, after you've hit and gone above your lactate threshold, it becomes really challenging to hold that, and we usually sputter out very quickly thereafter. So if someone has trained so much so that their threshold is up in the red, they can probably hang out in the red for 10 minutes or longer and be fine.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about in the past that there are so many factors that affect heart rate.
Yeah.
So I've done 10K races quite often. And in many of my 10K races, I'll be in the yellow zone for the majority of the race and then maybe a little bit of red at the end. But there was one 10K where I just was not feeling my best, and I was in red for almost the entire time. And it wasn't because my performance was necessarily better. It was just because maybe I was a little bit under the weather and I had more of a heart rate response, something that was affecting me. So you're going to get a little bit of a different response every time you train or you compete. When we should aim for the red zone is when we are doing things like threshold training that Emily was just mentioning, or high intensity interval training, and we're trying to hit really high intensities for a short duration. You know, maybe up to like 2 minutes on a high intensity interval, and then you're recovering, you're offering yourself a bout of recovery. Threshold training is pretty intense, where you might be holding something, you know, at or close to red for 10 minutes or a little bit more. And again, that's going to be a very individual prescription, or a very individual program design.
Yes, absolutely.
Hopefully that answers some of the questions that you would have had about how long one should be in the red zone. If you are a recreational exerciser, a fitness enthusiast, talk to your personal trainer, or maybe even better yet, talk to an exercise physiologist or a cardiologist about what might be appropriate for you in terms of the duration that you would be spending in those higher intensity zones.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, here we go. More questions. That's actually a good segue into one of the questions we got that was frequently asked: how do I know if I'm overtraining? And so overtraining we have covered in a previous blog post, as well as a Fitness Friday, so you can check that out at myzone.org or the Myzone Moves YouTube channel. But overtraining is a state in which we have either increased the frequency or the intensity or the duration of our workouts so much so that our body is no longer adapting in a positive direction. We've either plateaued and we've actually started to kind of dip down. That was a very odd hand gesture that I just did. You're starting to decrease your performance and potentially even become injured. So some signs of overtraining that we might experience would be general fatigue, not feeling great when we're working out or after we work out. If you've been on a program that you've been enjoying in the past, now you're just not really enjoying your workouts or feeling motivated anymore. Additionally, delayed muscle soreness that just won't go away, right? Muscle soreness is normal, and many of us have experienced that before, but if it just continues on for days on end, then that is not a normal situation. And then as far as your heart rate goes, there are some ways that you can check with your heart rate. And of course, these are not hard and fast rules. It's going to differ for everybody, but we encouraged you to take a look at your heart rate using your Myzone heart rate monitor and just compare your rate of perceived exertion to what your heart rate is telling you.
Yes.
So for example, on days when I know like I'm at the end of a training cycle and I'm feeling like I need to take a few days off or I'm gonna have a problem, then what I'll start to notice is that I'm maybe cycling or something like that, and my heart rate won't go above maybe the green zone, let's just say, but I feel like I literally can't push any harder than I'm pushing right now, but my heart rate doesn't reflect that, right? And in general, just a kind of disagreement between how you feel and what your heart rate is telling you, not being able to control your heart rate quite as much, could be a sign that you are overtrained.
Yes, and I think that the example that I was giving earlier about the 10K that I was running, where I was in the red zone for a majority of it, I think a big part of that was because I was overtrained, and my rate of perceived exertion was really high. It did reflect how I felt, but I wasn't able to run. That was running at a slower pace than I would have normally run. So that principle of diminishing returns, where even though I felt like I was exerting a lot and my heart rate was showing that I was really going, I wasn't performing at the same pace that I usually would have. So that was clearly a sign for me that I was overtrained.
Yeah, absolutely. One other factor that might help to influence if you think you're overtrained is your heart rate recovery. So particularly when you're doing cardiorespiratory exercise, we can generally get a feel for how quickly our heart rate will come down after a bout of higher intensity exercise. And if you're noticing, you're experiencing all these other symptoms too, you're noticing that your heart rate isn't recovering as quickly as it used to, then that might also be a sign. So we definitely recommend taking off a few days if you're experiencing those types of symptoms. And furthermore, we recommend that you make your workouts colorful in nature. So when you go back on your Myzone calendar, you're seeing all the colors that Myzone has to offer in the summary of each of your workouts.
Yes, and that's that concept of periodization that I was talking about earlier, where some workouts are higher intensity, the hot colors, the yellows, the reds, and other workouts are the blues and the greens, the cooler colors.
Yes. And Nick, we saw your comment. I'm actually right there with you. I almost never hit the red zone, and when I do, it's like I'm done. So yeah, it is going to be individual.
Yeah, and it's really going to depend on what modality of exercise you're doing as well. The fitter that we become, and we've talked about this a lot in terms of fitness adaptations, the more fit that we become, the more efficient our cardiorespiratory system becomes, our musculoskeletal system becomes, and it takes higher and higher workloads to see a response from our heart rate. So our sub-maximal heart rate at any given workload is actually going to decrease as we become more fit. It's going to get harder to get up into the higher intensities. So that's something to take into account. And like for me, when I'm running, I can get my heart rate up a lot higher than if I'm doing like an upper body exercise like the crank cycle, which is a piece of upper body equipment, because it's larger muscle mass, it's more dynamic when I'm running than when I'm doing something else. So that's something to consider, as well as what modality of exercise are you using and using as a comparison.
Totally. That would be a really good segue, I think, into one of the questions you're going to answer, Ayla, why the red zone and yellow zone are both worth 4 METs.
Yes, so why are the yellow zone and the red zone rewarded equally with the Myzone effort point system? And a big part of that is because Myzone wanted to prevent people overtraining. So they didn't want to offer an additional incentive for time spent in red, because when we're training and we're using things like threshold training or high intensity interval training, and we're trying to improve threshold or fitness level or our capacity, then we're going to get similar benefits in yellow and red. And so there's really no need to incentivize red more than yellow. And again, that would we didn't want anyone to be overtraining, or we didn't want to be promoting or incentivizing overtraining.
Yes. Nicole, I see your comment. It's harder to get in the yellow red when I'm getting less sleep than usual. Me too. I hear you there. Yes,
factors
absolutely.
that affect heart rate, my friend.
All right. Let's hop into another question. Let's see. Why would my max heart rate change? So your maximal heart rate actually probably won't change a whole lot with training. It's one of those things we talk about, a lot of the factors that will change as you become more fit maximal heart rate tends to stay around the same, my friends.
Yeah.
However, with the estimated maximal heart rate in the Myzone system, as we were talking about earlier, you might need to adjust that just a little bit. Myzone has an awesome safe proof in its system where if you hit your estimated max and hold it for 10 seconds or longer, like Ayla was saying, it will adjust up.
Yep.
But if you do need to adjust it down for any reason, that needs to be a manual change that would happen.
Yeah. And generally, maximal heart rate, really the only changes that we'll see would be with age. So as we age, maximal heart rate would have a tendency to come down slightly. But again, that's going to be different for each individual. So that's why the estimated equations, whereas they're great for most everyone, aren't going to be completely accurate for everyone. And I will give one example in terms of age related to maximal heart rate.
Yes.
My husband is a professional cyclist and he's in his 30s. And so with most age predicted equations, his maximal heart rate would be like in the upper 180s or so. But he's kind of a metabolic and physiological freak, so to speak. Sorry, Nate. And his max heart rate is actually over 200 beats per minute. So when he goes in and he does maximal testing, he hits heart rates that are over 200 beats per minute. So for him, we would need to adjust his estimated maximal heart rate up. And so the age predicted equation isn't always going to be accurate for him. So that's kind of a further explanation around maximal heart rate changes or estimate maximal heart rate adjustments.
Yeah, and I can see as we're explaining this, and everyone has so many cool comments. That's so great. I love to see what everyone's kind of chiming in with on what changes how their heart rate responds during exercise. But it makes me want to just make a blanket statement and say, listen to your body. Because it's hard probably when you're using your belt and you're not quite sure, you know, if you're using it correctly or interpreting things correctly. We want you to listen to your body first and use the data that you see using your Myzone belt to support how your body is feeling and use them in concert. So there's not necessarily a right or wrong for anybody. It's what's individual to you.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we like Myzone so much, is because it offers you opportunities to check in with how you're doing objectively and subjectively. So after you finish a workout, you're automatically prompted on the app to say, how did you like that workout? How did you feel, from the sad face to the really happy face? And you can label your workout. And so that's a way that you can check in and you can be like, okay, my body really liked these types of exercises, or my body really wasn't feeling very good that week. I can see this pattern in my training. Maybe I'm overtrained. So we like Myzone because it does allow you to listen to your body as well as see the data and then make educated choices accordingly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a couple other questions here.
We do.
I'm going to do this one and then we'll hop into some more of the cool Myzone stuff.
Yeah, do it.
What is the best fat burning zone? This is a question that we get asked quite often. And the answer is not as simple as probably we would like it to be. Right? Many of you may have heard in the past that the lower intensity zones are where we burn the most fat. While that may be true in a sense, let me clarify what that actually means. So when we're working at lower intensities of exercise, the proportion of calories that are burned from fat versus carbohydrates tends to be higher on the fat side of things. So yes, proportionally speaking, you are burning more fat than you would be carbohydrates. In fact, the proportion is highest when we're asleep. But we're not going to sleep our way to, you know, to burning calories. So in that sense, yes, the proportion does favor fat. However, as we increase the intensity of our workout, then although that proportion tends to change and we are burning a little bit more from carbohydrates than we would be from fat, overall we're burning more calories, and thus overall we're burning more fat calories. More calories from fat.
Exactly. I think that was a really excellent explanation.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
It's a hard one to sometimes verbalize. So what we would recommend then is that for those of you who are just starting out, it really is important that you're spending the first portions of your, especially cardiorespiratory workouts, in those lower intensity zones to build up your aerobic base. And then as you become more fit, you're working toward those higher intensities. Everybody's going to be burning fat doing those activities. Overall, you'd be burning more calories and more calories from fat at the higher intensities, as well as reaping more fitness benefits. But we all have to start somewhere. So I would say don't shy away from the blue and the green zone. furthermore, even if you are incredibly fit, we've got to have that variety.
Yes.
So a good mix is important.
Yeah, and the more fit that we become, the more efficient and effective we become at mobilizing fat and using it as a fuel source. So again, you can play around in all of the zones, and the more fit that you become, you're going to be a fat burning machine.
Yes.
And the more lean mass that you have, the more metabolically active tissue you have, the more you're going to be burning fat as well. So that's something to take into consideration. There's I'll make a long story short in that there again are so many factors that are going to affect how we're burning calories and mobilizing and metabolizing fat. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's never a quick answer.
No.
Okay. Shall we move on?
Yeah, we shall.
Okay, I want to get into maybe some of the Myzone like app related questions.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a monthly target and a monthly status? What a great question. On our Myzone app, and I'm actually going to show you here in a moment, we can set monthly targets. So I can go in and I can say, this is how many Myzone effort points I want to earn this month. This is how many calories I want to burn this month. These are how many moves I want to do this month. And those would be your monthly targets. So number of calories burned, number of MEPS points earned, or number of moves that you complete. And then your monthly status is a little badge of honor that you get to earn based on how many Myzone effort points you're earning each month. If you earn 1,300 Myzone effort points in a month, then you are progressing in your Myzone status. And you know what? I'm going to walk you through what that means.
Yeah. Every time I see Ayla's profile pop up, I'm jealous because she's Hall of Fame and
I just reached the Hall of Fame.
I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there.
And Hall of Fame means that for 4 years in a row, for 48 months, I've hit and averaged 1,300 MEPS or more every month. So I know I'm seeing sprinkles of my social connections are now Hall of Fame, which isn't that fun? 4 years in a row of consistent exercising. I mean, that's such a reward to me to feel like that.
Yeah.
Okay, on your Myzone app, so here's kind of the interface, the home page of your app. If you click on, you can see at the top there's the little gidget. Do we call that a gidget? I call it a gidget, the little gidget wheel. And on that little gidget, I know you probably can't read this so well, but there's a section that says Myzone status. And if you hit that, it actually walks you through each level of the Myzone status and how you earn that status. So I'm going to kind of talk you through that. If for 1 month you hit 1,300 MEPS or more, then you earn iron status. 3 months of 1,300 MEPS in a row gets you bronze. 6 months get you silver status. 12 months, when you reach your first year of averaging 1,300 MEPS or more a month, you get gold status. Then you hit platinum at 24 months, diamond at 36 months, and Hall of Fame, abbreviated HOF, at 48 months or 4 years. So that's Myzone status. It's letting you know your consistency, whereas your monthly target is letting you know exactly what you want to hit each month. Are you getting to set a goal around what you want to hit each month?
Beautifully explained.
Thanks.
Yes.
And I did want to show the section where you can set your goals on the app is right here. Pow. You can hit that and then you can actually go in and you can set goals. So you can say how many MEPS do I want to earn, and the breakdown, you can take a look, play around on your app, because the breakdown is so fun to take a look at in terms of where you're at on your way to your goals and things like that. So yeah, play around on the app.
Yeah, congrats Marcin for being platinum after 2 years. That's great.
Yay.
Really good. Okay, let's see. What is a Myzone status? You just explained that one, Ayla.
Yep. Yeah, I think we got it.
I think we got that. Want to run through just a couple of the ones down here?
Yeah, support type questions.
Yes, support type questions. Yeah. Can you wash your Myzone belt? The answer is yes, please do. Yes, you absolutely can wash your Myzone belt. It's recommended that you hand wash your Myzone belt, although you can also put the belt itself in the washing machine on cold and then hang dry.
Right. Take the transmitter off.
Yeah,
don't put the transmitter in the wash, and you don't even need to submerge the transmitter if you're washing your belt, hand washing it.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
Easy.
How do you connect your phone via Bluetooth?
Yes, So connecting your belt to your phone on the Bluetooth, so it's going to be different for different smartphones, but you'd go to your Bluetooth setting, so on an iPhone, Bluetooth setting, and you would search for, once you put your belt on, your belt, and you can see that mine is here, so it'll say Myzone, and then it'll be your, sorry Emily, I'm blocking your face there, my bad. It'll be your unique belt ID code, which is on the back of your transmitter, and then you can connect that way. I just unplugged my belt, so that's why I'm not connected right now. But that's how you can connect. You can search in your Bluetooth finder and connect that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tough Mudder. Oh, Melissa, I'm so glad you asked that. We had it on our list.
For that question.
Yes, Tough Mudder events. Let's start with the swimming with your belt, because I think that one we do get asked a little bit more often. Can you swim with your belt? And the answer is yes, you can. However, when you're swimming, if you don't have a wetsuit on, then the water can actually get in between your body and your belt and then separate the connection. So it's recommended that you wear a wetsuit.
Yes. So if you are doing these Tough Mudder events or another event where you're going to be submerged in water, just know that if you're like swimming through or running through a course and your belt is submerged, that you might not get all of the data during that portion because if there's a separation. So just be aware of that.
Yes. Hi, Denise. Yeah. And Melissa, if you want to wear your wetsuit to the Tough Mudder, you should take a picture and then send it to us. That'd be cool.
Maybe make like a wetsuit tube top. See how that goes. A belt protector. Yeah. We could start a whole new wardrobe line.
Oh, hell. Yeah, so those are the support type questions that we had. If you do have more questions, we would love to hear from you. You can comment in the comment section below this video and ask any questions that you might have, support or training related.
Yeah, and we would always welcome your questions during all of our Fitness Friday broadcasts. We always tell you anything that we can address live, we will go back and address in the feed afterwards. So please keep all of the questions and comments coming.
Yes. We got one more question from Sarah. Will Myzone come out with a belt that will work in the pool without having to wear a wetsuit? I don't think we know the answer to that question.
We don't, and that might be a great question to email to support@myzone.org.
Yes.
Good question for them.
Yeah, I like it. It's definitely a good thought. All right, folks, thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend. Again, you can check out Myzone at myzone.org, Myzone on YouTube, Myzone on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all over social media.
Yeah, Myzone Moves podcast on iTunes, on Google Play, a lot of resources available.
Yes, and I almost missed getting to tell you this. Next week, we're going to have a guest broadcaster. So we'll have a guest broadcaster. It's going to be very fun and exciting. Be sure to check us out next week. And it won't even be us. It'll be our guest.
Yes, Miss Katie.
Yes,
so.
yes.
Very good. All right, everybody. As we always say, keep moving forward. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Happy Fitness Friday.
Thanks for your questions.